Hello and welcome back to Tells. My name is Busi and this podcast is on poker and love. I'm joined by my co-host Andrew Nemi. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thanks. It's good to be on the show.
Is it?
It's funny because we call this a show, but we basically do like no preparation whatsoever for it.
Speak for yourself.
You do preparation for this? A lot of planning.
I do actually. Thank you
Executing,
very much.
And then reviewing whether we nailed the plan.
You're so rude.
Am I?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway, on today's show, we're going to be talking about poker, obviously, and eroticism.
Whoa.
Which would you like to address first?
Could go either way, really. Let's get into the eroticism. Sounds like something people might stick around for.
Okay. Andrew, what do you think eroticism is?
Sex.
That's it? What about sex? All sex is not erotic. Yes or no?
Yes, it is.
All sex is erotic?
Yeah, the consensual kind, yes.
Okay, so what does erotic mean?
Sex. And alluding to it, and things that might eventually end up in sex.
Okay.
Such as foreplay.
Should we look up the definition of eroticism?
All right.
As defined by Merriam-Webster, eroticism is the quality that causes sexual feelings, as well as philosophical contemplation concerning the aesthetics of sexual desire, sensuality, and romantic love. The quality may be found in any form of artwork, including painting, sculpture, photography, drama, film, music, or literature.
Okay. So it's like things that allude to the sex stuff.
Well, I learned a new or rethought of definition of eroticism.
Okay.
Do you think, okay, first, before we go there, do you think you can be erotic on your own without an object of desire, being another person?
I suppose so.
That long pause. Okay. So how would you be erotic on your own?
I don't know if I want to get into this in a public in a public forum, to be honest with you.
No? Well, I did just want to make you feel uncomfortable.
That's the point of the conversation.
Because I learned a definition of eroticism, which is almost like joie de vivre.
Which means what?
The joy of life. So eroticism is the thing that makes you feel alive, right? Does sex make you feel alive?
It's one thing that does, yes.
Okay. What else makes you feel alive?
A downswing.
So that could be erotic too.
I would never equate the two, but if you say so.
So if we think about eroticism,
The basis is that it makes you feel alive. It alludes to life and creation of life.
correct,
Okay.
life and creation. So yes, it's been attributed to sexuality, but it's not the only realm that it can inhabit. So that's why I was asking if you thought you could be erotic by yourself. Because if you do the things that make you feel alive, then you are cultivating eroticism within yourself.
Seems like a stretch.
Just because you have a narrow definition
Probably.
so it says philosophical contemplation.
Yeah.
So do you philosophically contemplate sex?
I mean, philosophical contemplation sounds like it's just like way early on in the timeline that would eventually lead to getting laid.
What?
Like thinking about ways that could eventually end up with that series of events that ends up in sex.
Okay, well, yeah. Anyway, I learned this from psychologist and author Esther Perel because she's very big on the individual taking responsibility for themselves. So your sexual pleasure, your relationship to self before the relationship with another,
Sure.
right? Because
Can get down with that.
so she talks about desire. One of the big themes of her work is desire. And she says, how do you cultivate desire? How do you cultivate desire, do you think?
What do you mean cultivate desire? Like from other people that I want to desire me? Or how do I cultivate my desire for other things?
Right. So how do you think your desire arises?
It's very natural. It's just my essence.
Okay. Well,
so how does she think we cultivate desire?
Well, she talks about in a relationship, you cultivate desire by creating tension, right? Tension being
sexual.
And not everything is about sex.
Okay.
Yes, it might all lead to sex in your mind.
Hope so.
But not everything is purely about sex.
I'm not sure I agree, but okay.
So she talks about how in your relationship, when desire wanes, is because there's no curiosity, right? Mm-hmm. You already think you know your partner. So why would you desire something that you already have? Isn't that the case? We usually want the things that we don't have.
Somewhat, yeah.
But she's not talking about going outside and bringing another person into your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
More like allowing people in the relationship to be individuals. And then when I go outside and come back with a story or what I've accomplished or what I've done out in the world,
right,
then that creates the desire, the life, joie de vivre.
So basically saying
in the relationship.
Saying that we should not just like function 100% as like a unit all the time. We should still maintain some autonomy and get together.
Yes, pretty much. So that's why I thought the conversation about eroticism was so interesting, because the first time when I saw the title of the newsletter, I was like, oh yeah, for sure, eroticism between two people. And she says, cultivate that within yourself. I said, how?
I think
how?
I think I do that.
How do you cultivate?
I think I'm frequently like my own man, like doing my own thing without your being there.
Okay, so what are the things in your life that make you feel alive? So to put it into context, she was talking about how over the past year and a half, a lot of people have lost the things that make them feel alive, right? Going to concerts, being outside, whatever the thing is that your part of the world said no more of because of coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that helps you cultivate eroticism?
I guess like going out and being productive. I guess
Does that bring you joy? Like going out and being productive?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Not necessarily like the method itself, but like the being productive part, like the result.
Okay, so production aside, Mr. Capitalism.
Okay.
What brings
like
you joy?
Why don't you like my answer?
I'm not saying I don't like your answer, but I doubt that going to work is the thing that brings you joy.
Really?
Like what brings you happiness? Going to sit at a poker table for 12 hours
well, that's
brings
what I
you
said, like,
ultimate happiness?
That's what I said, not necessarily like the, like the actual function itself, but like the overall act of like being a hunter, going out hunting and bringing my dead moose home with me that I caught for you.
Okay.
What
else
also
brings
like
you joy?
Being creative.
Okay.
Creating something.
Okay. And what else?
Why is there always like something else? Why don't you like my answer?
I mean, I just feel like you are making it very philosophical. Eating an ice cream, basic things. Like, what do you think you lost because of the state of the world that used to bring you joy? Like you said, going to the bar.
A nice beverage.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Having a beverage with friends.
Yeah.
Often at like a new spot. Yeah. Seeing friends. I'm kind of a simple man. That's about it. You tell me some of your things.
I think I wrote down like talking to strangers.
Mm-hmm. Could see that.
Going out and talking to a stranger at a bar or the new yoga studio. Because for me, it's not really the going to the bar. It's like not knowing who will be there. and what random fact I will learn by chatting to the person sitting next to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
a little jealous that you're able to do that. Not jealous that like they get your attention. Jealous that like you are brave enough to do that and are like genuinely excited by it.
Everybody's just as nervous as you, so I think people feel relief, when you talk to them.
Well, I mean, because you're so easy to talk to. I'm not.
You're not easy to talk to.
I don't necessarily have the automatic flow that you do.
Loosen conversation.
Anyway, okay, talking to strangers.
But also solo dining.
Really?
Not just going to a bar and having a cocktail. No, full on meal, because it's like you have in the back of your head that people might be judging you for sitting at a restaurant by yourself.
Oh, I don't care about that.
But literally,
sure
nobody's judging you. But that gives me a little thrill.
So these are all things that are like your autonomous thing that do it for you, and then you're saying that these will come back into play as we like reunite and give us energy, erotic energy.
So if you think about it, on your worst poker day, right? You've lost like X amount of dollars.
Yeah, happened like 2 days ago.
Okay. Do you want to come home and like have sex in that moment? Don't think about like.
I could be easily convinced, I think.
No, but not convincing.
You would have to do the starting.
Exactly. So if eroticism is linked to like life force, which is what I got from the newsletter and video that I watched, which I'll share in the comment section if anybody's interested. The joy of life has to spring forth from within you, but then it spills out into your life, right? Because if I have to initiate and do the work, then you didn't really want to have sex in that moment, but I might want to, and therefore you go, okay. But think about how when you feel your best, how you walk in the world.
Yeah.
How, you know what I mean? So the eroticism is not just cultivated when you see an attractive person, because on your worst day, you literally do not want to, like, even if we said no sex, we're not talking about sex at all.
Yeah.
If I'm having a bad day and I go out and eat, do you think I want to talk to the person next to me at the restaurant? Absolutely not.
Okay.
But if I go out and I leave the house and I'm feeling great, of course I want to talk to other people
so
and share the joie de vivre.
So you're saying you wouldn't want to do the things that allow you to be like you, expressing yourself and finding that.
Yes, I'm just saying that like if we have less life, we want to express less of life when we're in this low energetic place. Without eroticism.
Okay.
Have I sold you on the new, more broader definition of eroticism? I like it so much.
I think it's I also like it. I still wouldn't file it in the same manila folder.
Why? Why do we place sex in its own folder? Because it's just a part of life as eating a jelly bean. I mean, sure, you can't create a whole baby eating a jelly bean, but you can get the same amount of joy.
The same amount of joy.
You think not, clearly. I mean, you can get a level of joy.
You mean it comes from like the same
fountain? Disagree?
Nah, I'm not really sold on it at all, but I think it's good to have in mind going into your life out there in the world.
What is good to have in your mind going out there in the world?
Just these things that like, well, I mean, I do like the whole belief of that each person sort of like needs to live their own life, and then you sort of like come back and like share the energy that you have captured, and then the two energies come together, and then there's an erotic explosion that happens.
Okay, wonderful.
But I think it's like the very small like tail end of the eroticism definition curve. It's pretty far out there.
I see from how we've held the definition of eroticism where you come from.
Yes.
I do see that. But in the same breath, sex doesn't begin when you see somebody attractive.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, or especially for women, like for me, like it's a whole day.
That I believe.
You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, in the moment.
Women are complicated. Men are simple. But I do understand that when you phrase it that way.
So, but even with your life, you like to believe that everything leads to sex, right? Or like,
yeah,
like that's a sort of primal driver for us doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
Whether how you prim yourself or like what job you do, you just like the culmination of this will be being able to reproduce
right
with the highest species.
Yes.
Right.
And like most confidently being able to accomplish that.
Right. But
Yeah.
So in the same token, it doesn't start when you see that person. Because
suppose that's fair.
You can be, if you were just like struggling in your career or you are struggling in your career.
I wouldn't feel very erotic at all.
You know, but you don't even have the confidence to approach that person.
Maybe. Unless you just like are able to understand that you'll get there eventually and that partner will be able to reap the rewards later on.
Yeah,
they just have a little patience with you.
Yeah. Who's going to date your potential?
You did.
Me aside. Who's dating your potential? Very few people.
People do. There's lots of women that date men that because they see that they have it in them, even though they're not there yet.
Okay.
They have to, otherwise we wouldn't get very far in life.
But anyway, the point of bringing up this topic was to remind you, Andrew, that you can create your own eroticism, and to let you know, listeners of the podcast, you can use your imagination, right? So if you can't do things that you were able to do before, you can dream about doing those things in the future, like how I dream about going to Mexico one day soon, to create within you the feeling, you know, and the hope. Because sometimes I get kind of down on life situations, you know, but knowing that within yourself there's a way to sort of hold yourself over until the actual thing.
So the takeaway, because a lot of these things we're talking about happen like outside. If you think about like a meditation session, like that's something that happens like here present within you.
Okay.
A lot of things we talked about happen like out in the world, like you going to the bar and talking to somebody.
Right.
That's like a not very pandemic type thing.
Yeah, but then that's when you call on your imagination to create that experience, because your brain does not know. We all know this. Your brain can't tell whether it's real or fake, right?
Okay.
It can't.
So you're just supposed to like think about that sort of interaction?
Imagine
that sort of interaction?
Not just think about it. Imagine. Because kids do it all the time, right? Young children are not depressed during the pandemic.
Yeah, but
because they know that this confinement doesn't mean anything to them. They
That's
can
cool.
just create whatever they want.
I like the thought. I just worry that some people will be like, it's not good enough for my clinical depression.
I'm not talking about clinical depression.
Okay, not clinical depression, but it's very difficult, the circumstances. And just imagining doesn't make it less enough difficult.
Okay,
for me to feel sexy and erotic.
Yeah. Okay, and that's fine. Right? Because they're going to be periods of your life where that is the case. What are you going to do about it?
That's true. So you're not trying to solve everyone's problems right here, right now. I understand.
I just wanted to share my...
it definitely gives me a lot of food for thought. You don't think so?
No. Definitely not.
You don't have any faith in me?
Or maybe I'll find out about this thought 5 years from now. That's all I got.
No, I think it's a good way to frame the whole, what gives you that virality or whatever the phrase is, whatever the term is.
Yeah, and it doesn't always, like you said, yes, it could be something outside, but maybe there's things that you can do inside that give that to you. Some people paint,
Mm-hmm.
you know, some people run,
Mm-hmm. Some people clean.
some people go on Twitter.
Some people vacuum. They do.
Yeah, whatever gives you life.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, listeners of the podcast, what gives you life?
Sexual life. Erotic life.
You do not have to tell us what gives you sexual
What turns
life.
you on? No, I'm just kidding.
Anyway, moving right along. Andrew Nemi,
Yes.
you went outside and played poker.
I did.
What is this life?
3 times.
Three times.
Since we last spoke. 3 sessions.
And how was your experience outside playing poker?
Interesting. The end.
Do you care to expand?
So I went to the Bellagio twice and Aria once.
Okay.
So the first time I played Bellagio, 5-10, no limit hold'em. And the games were definitely above average. This was on a Friday night. And so I was like, yep, I've been hearing that the games are above average during the whole pandemic thing. And it seemed to play out. I don't think I played my best, but still games were soft and managed to book a nice win. Night number 2, pretty much complete opposite. Like games were really bad on a Saturday night. So that was disappointing. And again, I did not play my best and it didn't work out this time.
Are you a bit rusty?
Yes. I'm also just like, I don't have like a lot of patience for whatever reason. I think because like
Multi-tabling, online games.
I think it's because like the markets have been like so exciting, interesting, and easy.
Payday every day.
Pretty much. Yeah. Bull run life has been like on fire for the past like bunch of months. So to like kind of sit there and grind it out, playing, you know, like $30 raise pots, I'm not in a good mental spot basically. So it didn't work out the second night, and I've basically retired from No Limit Texas Hold'em again. And so I went And so I went over to Aria last night and played the 5-5-10 PLO, and that game was really soft. I was seeing some things. I was like, whoa. I made like a bunch of like tight folds, and afterwards, when I finally saw some showdowns, I was like, I should not have folded versus what's going on here in this game. So I had a good night last night and enjoyed that, and I will not retire from that yet, pending further results. So anyway.
I mean, it seems like a very small sample size to retire on.
Yeah, but I just know that like every time I think about like putting in the necessary work that it's going to take to be in a profitable spot and have a good size edge in the no limit hold'em, my mind just like immediately goes to like, what's the point? And there's like a lot that could be said about that, about poker, and just like how we're getting closer and closer to the, you know, solved. The ceiling gets lower. If you're not going to put in the work, you're just like a step behind. And so every time I think about like putting in the work and like getting into solvers and doing all this stuff off the table, and like also creating content and like trying to have other things going on in life, it's not very erotic to me. Let's put it that way.
So, Andrew Nemi, can the listeners of the Tells podcast expect a video
blog
of these poker playing sessions, or one session?
Probably not, but
what?
I just want to like figure out what the plan is here first. I need to get right in my head.
Okay, you can stop watching now. Bye.
I am a little bit so like the things I said about studying the No Limit Hold'em don't really apply to PLO. Like I'm pretty interested in learning a little bit more, at least, about the PLO, possibly finding a coach. I keep thinking about that, and I probably should. So I don't know if anyone cares about PLO content. It's like, it doesn't make for as good content as No Limit Hold'em does.
Why is that?
Well, there's less cards on the screen. It's less confusing. You can go all in at any moment, whereas in PLO, you can only bet the size of the pot.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So any one moment, you can lose your entire stack or win someone else's stack. Yeah, and it's just less confusing. More people play it. More people get it, etc. I'm sure I'll play like tournaments. I'm still down to play No Limit Hold'em in locations outside of Vegas, and I'm pretty interested in like kicking around the idea of starting a home game of some sort. Just a little sprinkle of possibility out there in the world.
I'm very disappointed that we're not getting a video.
There will be a video eventually, but I need to get my mind right.
Anyway, all right. Well, thank you for giving us an update on your poker life.
You mad about the video?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'll get there eventually. I just gotta figure out a couple things. I'm pretty eager to go back to the PLO game and see if it's as soft.
I mean, a lot of people are clearly very angry, leaving very angry comments.
Mm-hmm. We'll get into the YouTube comments next time on Tells. I thought maybe today, but we went down a erotic rabbit hole.
Thank you so much for all the well wishes in the comments. We read them all. Andrew's on the mend or fully mended. Are you fully mended? You have a cough every 3 hours or so.
Slight cough. The inner workings, the lungs. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're fully better.
Do you feel like pressure?
So I got this Whoop thing, and it tells me that my respiratory rate is still elevated compared to what it used to be. So I think I need to get in the gym and do some work. I think it'd be good to get back after it, etc. So but generally, like, feeling pretty good.
Out of 100?
90.
It's pretty high.
91.
Why did you have to add an extra point?
Because you looked worried.
Because I look worried. Okay, I think that is all we have time for on this episode of Tells.
Okay.
If you like this podcast, please like the video if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe if you care to, so you can know when we publish more of these chats. And you can also write to us. hello@tellspodcast.com with any questions or comments. We appreciate the feedback. Or you can text or call us 702-690-9299.
Who's going to be the next person to send us a voice message?
No.
Call us, leave us a little voice memo.
Editing that out.
Phones don't do this anymore. They do this.
That's right.
I'm old.
Yes, you are old.
All right.
All right. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.